My postcard today is from here, the oldest town in England, once the county town of Berkshire and famous for its abbey, Abingdon. Now, this street used to be the main road through Abingdon on your way from Reading to Oxford. It's quiet now, thank goodness, because it caused a lot of havoc in its day. Look at this stunning archway, for instance, and through there, by the way, you can see the county hall where Abingdon and the whole of the county of Berkshire was ruled from up until 1869. But come and have a look at this arch, because you've got here great gashes in the stonework where the transport of its day would try to maneuver and negotiate its way through here so that it could get through the town on its way to Oxford. We're now in the marketplace of the county hall, and this was erected in 1677 by a friend of Sir Christopher Wren's, Christopher Kempster. Through there is where the market is now. That's where they hold their weekly market here in Abingdon, but this is where it all happened. And there's actually been a market in Abingdon itself since time immemorial. Well, you'd expect that, being the oldest inhabited town, wouldn't you? Now here in the gallery, in the county hall, in this very large room, was where the people of Berkshire were tried. These were the assizes. This is where the courts were held. And in fact, at one time, there was a dividing wall or screen between the two, where there were two different courts in process, but this was only held twice a year. Otherwise, this was used for readings, grand occasions, events, and enormous balls. Now, they have a very strange tradition here in Abingdon. It's called bun throwing, and here's a bun. This is an Andrew and Sarah bun, which wasn't thrown, of course, because it's here in my hand. But this celebrated the marriage of the Duke and Duchess of York in 1986. And what they would do is they would bring their buns up here, and they throw them from the top of County Hall into the waiting crowd down there in the marketplace. This began with the coronation of King George III in 1760, where buns were thrown from here down to the marketplace. That was the first recorded event. They may have been doing it before, for all I know. And then when King William IV came to the throne in 1831, it was said by a scribe who was looking on, they threw 500 penny buns into the crowd where they could be scrambled for amongst the dirt. Ugh. Oh. I'm not scrambling for that. This is the parish church of St. Nicholas, and it's one of the few remaining buildings of the great Benedictine Abbey of Abingdon, which was dissolved in 1538, when Henry VIII did his thing with ecclesiastical buildings everywhere. Now, John Blacknell was the grandson of William Blacknell, who bought the abbey after Henry VIII dissolved it. And here he is with his wife Jane, and coincidentally, they both ended their life on earth together on the same day in 1625, the 21st of August. I'm heading down towards St. Helen's Church now, which is the original parish church of Abingdon. And, oh, help yourself free. I mean, they're very generous people here in Abingdon, and who can resist a nice marrow? Not me. Ah, look at that great spire of St. Helen's Church. Now, what is so unusual about this Church of St. Helen is the fact that its width exceeds its length, because it's 108 feet wide, but only 97 feet long. And only the Church of St. Nicholas in Great Yarmouth in the county of Norfolk is actually bigger than that. Now, what's so exciting about my postcards is that For me personally, I come across real finds, and here's one of them. We see plenty of almshouses. I say plenty, but I've seen lots of Elizabethan almshouses around the country still in use, but I've never found medieval ones which are still inhabited. And here in Abingdon, you've got the Long Alley almshouses, which were built in 1446 to 1447. They're still used, and along the walls there are passages from the Bible. So even in old age, you've got to behave yourself. I'm on the banks of the Thames here, and on this side we're in the county of Berkshire, and over there is the county of Oxfordshire. And if you look up the river of course is the dividing line between all the counties along the whole length of the River Thames. Rivers were natural boundaries. But if you look there at the Willow, which is just over there, beyond that was the Abbey, the famous Benedictine Abbey, the great Benedictine Abbey of Abingdon. And you know, even in medieval times, there were engineers who did divert the course of the Thames round over to there. There's the main course there, under the bridge, and they diverted the course of the Thames so that the Abbey could receive water, both for the occupants and to drive its watermill. Now, these are some of the buildings associated with the Abbey that still remain. None of the religious side of that great, important place, but there are still parts here for you to see, and you can probably hear the watermill or the water going past. Remember where I told you how they diverted the Thames to actually take into account the aquatic needs of the Abbey? Well, we've reached our goal. As opposed to Abingdon Jail, we reached our Abingdon goal. That's the diverted part of the River Thames that fed water to the Abbey, and this is it. All that remains of Abingdon Abbey, which was as big as Westminster Abbey in its day. Fields and a children's playground.